Ladies and gentlemen, we are in the midst of a civil war. Something that the right side of the political aisle has been talking about for a couple of decades at this point, at least the better half of my lifetime. And it's something that the left has always laughed at us about, saying, "How could you say that? We can't go to war. The Mason-Dixon line goes straight through Grandma's house. We're not gonna go to war. Americans aren't going to kill each other, not again." Well, they're half correct. No, Americans aren't going to go out into the streets killing each other en masse as they did in the first Civil War. But we are in the midst of a civil war. It's something that Americans are starting to wake up to. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Information Civil War, fifth generational warfare. Before we get started with the news, I want to ask that you please like and subscribe to this channel. I'm going to talk about why here in a little bit, but YouTube seems to be stating, we have the power, you don't. YouTube is no longer beholden to their content creators, the people that make them their money. So, please subscribe to my channel. Share this video with your friends. The information I talk about here is of the utmost importance. The information I've been talking about is important. It's important that this information is disseminated and not controlled by our media tech overlords. I don't have a marketing team or a big fancy studio. So all my video traffic comes through you, my viewers. So please, I'm begging of you, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a single video. And share this video with all your friends. And if everyone who shared this video one time, I would be the biggest YouTube channel by the end of the year. Alright, on to the news. As I said, we are in the midst of the Information Civil War. Something that the right has been talking about for a couple of decades at this point, at least. And it's not going to be North versus South. It's not going to be Americans killing each other in the streets with guns. It's not going to be the North creating their military and the South creating their military because, let's be honest, if the left were to try to create a military, what would they fight us with? 3/4 of their constituents want more gun control, and 3/4 of them will never own a gun. So, please tell me, how would the left win this war if it were to go hand-to-hand combat or fighting in the streets? They don't know crap about firearms. They don't even know how they work. The vast majority of them never plan on owning a firearm, never want to own a firearm. So that leaves them one option. They need to control the information. We are in the fifth generational warfare, the Information Civil War. It is the right versus the left, not the North versus the South. But I need to tell you this, political left, look at who won the last Civil War. The Republicans. Oh, but the party switched. No, they didn't. The parties only switched based on who thinks more government is good and who thinks more government is bad. The Republican Party has always stood firm on the ground of anti-racism. And if you think the Republican Party is the racist party, well, you've got another thing coming. The Republican Party isn't the party that assumes things about someone else's life based on the color of their skin. Like, oh, you must be so oppressed. Oh, you must have grown up poor because you're black. Oh man, life must have been so hard for you because you're Native American or you're a Mexican. Those lines don't come from Republicans. Republicans are the ones that are hiring these people regardless of their skin color. Meanwhile, the Democrats are hiring these people specifically because of their skin color. So I say this again. The Republican Party is not the party of racism. The Democratic Party is. The Republican Party doesn't care about race. The only color the Republican Party cares about is green. The cash in our wallets, in our pockets, and in our bank accounts. Meanwhile, the left, that's the only color they don't care about. They would rather hire a black criminal because he's black over a white perfectly qualified person because he's white. This is the reality of which we have found ourselves, and it is destroying our culture. And the left is silencing anyone and everyone who dares to call out their crap. We see this with YouTube's new updated policies regarding videos that contest the election or dispute Joe Biden's win. They said, our community guidelines prohibit spam, scams, or other manipulated media, coordinated influence operations, and any content that seeks to incite violence. Okay, I'm with you so far. Since September, we've terminated over 8,000 channels and thousands of harmful and misleading election-related videos for violating our existing policies. Over 77% of those removed were taken down before they had 100 views. We also work to make sure that the line between what is removed and what is allowed is drawn in the right place. Our policies prohibit misleading viewers about where and how to vote. We also disallow content alleging widespread fraud or errors changed the outcome of historical U.S. presidential election. However, in some cases, that has meant allowing controversial views on the outcome of process of counting votes of a current election, as election officials have worked to finalize counts. And then they go on to say the troubling part. As if the beginning wasn't troubling already. Yesterday was the safe harbor deadline for the U.S. presidential election, and enough states have certified their election results to determine a president-elect. Given that, we will start removing any piece of content uploaded today, or anytime after, that misleads people by alleging that widespread fraud or errors changed the outcome of the 2020 U.S. presidential election in line with our approach towards historical U.S. presidential elections. For example, we will remove videos claiming that presidential candidates won the election due to widespread software glitches or counting errors. We will begin enforcing this policy today and will ramp up in the weeks to come. As always, news coverage and commentary on these issues can remain on our site if there's sufficient education, documentary, scientific, or artistic content. Okay. Here's my problem with this. I have a lot of problems with this. But my number one problem is... I'm sorry. I have two main problems with this. I should specify. The Democrats had no problem running their mouths over the last 4 years about Russian collusion, despite the fact that there was no evidence to support it. There's my first problem. And the second problem is a little more nuanced. So the first problem is the Democrats have shrouded Russian collusion over the last 4 years. My second problem is that over the past year, the Democrats have said this election is going to be rigged if Donald Trump wins, wins. And now that he's won, they're saying it was the most secure election ever. The ridiculous double standard that they have presented here is absurd, and it needs to be called out. And I realize the irony of me doing this video on YouTube is, but YouTube, get your crap together. If I were handed a document, we'll say, by a discredited intelligence agent from another country that said Joe Biden was sleeping around with Chinese spies and liked to pee on Beijing prostitutes, would I then have been allowed to talk about this? No, I wouldn't, despite the fact that's exactly what the Russian collusion was based on. A crappy dossier that had no factual basis, and honestly talked about a lot of things about Trump's personal life that we already knew about. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the double standard we are now living under. They had no problem allowing conversation on election fraud and voter suppression when it made the Republicans look like the bad guys. But now that there's information coming out making the Democrats look like the bad guys, actual, factual information, they don't want any part of it. They want to squash it, tamp it down. They want to silence the Republican Party and anyone to the right of Hillary Clinton. They are censoring right-wing media, left and right, because they want to maintain their monopoly on the information. They want to win the civil culture war. People like Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens, Dave Rubin, Jordan Peterson, they talk about the culture war quite a bit. This is our Civil War 2.0. The Informational Civil War. The culture war. And YouTube wants nothing less than to destroy anyone that agrees with the right, because they want to maintain their monopoly on information. The political left that hates to claim the free market. I'm sorry, that claims to hate the free market. Not hates to claim. They claim to hate the free market, and they also hate to claim it, I guess. That's also true. They love the free market when it provides them a monopoly on information, but they hate it the moment that the balance of power shifts from their hands into the hands of the right. The right wing is gaining momentum, and they don't want anything to do with it. They want to cut it off before it reaches the bottom of the hill, and the bomb blows up their structural integrity. And then all of their ivory towers collapse in on them. What a glorious day that will be. Then we will be free. Free from the tyranny of the left. It's ironic that the left voted in a man... Or, I'm sorry, let me start with this. It's ironic that the left hates the man who is providing record and unprecedented peace, not just in the U.S., but across the world. It's ironic that they hate this man, but will vote for the leader of the party of burning down American businesses, the leader of the party that is literally calling people to harass the other side in the streets and at public restaurants. They voted for the leader of the party who was part of the administration that droned American citizens in the Middle East and killed thousands of civilians in their war on terror. But they hate the man who just announced another record peace deal between Israel and Morocco. It makes no sense to me how these people who claim to want peace will vote for the man who encourages the burning down of American cities, who encourages giving pallets of cash to the Iranians so that they can increase their terrorist regimes. There's no other way to put that. That's what they did with the cash the Obama administration gave them in the Iran nuclear deal. It's what they did. It's what they're going to continue to do. They hate the man who is breaking peace out all over the Middle East, normalizing relations between Israel and Middle East countries. I think this is number 4. The 4th Middle Eastern peace deal that Donald Trump has signed and organized and brought together. But no. Vote for the man who helped authorize drone strikes against American citizens. Vote for the man who will send more cash to terrorist regimes. Vote for the man who's going to leave Israel out to dry. Vote for the man who's going to weaken our borders. Vote for the man who will trust Canada blindly, despite the fact that Trudeau just allowed Chinese military to conduct winter military exercises within his borders. Congratulations, America. You've just elected a terrorist-friendly president. All because Orange Man bad. Well, I say you elected him. You might have elected him. Because there's still one major holdout. A few minor ones, but the biggest one of this election is 18 states now back Texas in general election Supreme Court lawsuit against 4 swing states. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what the Civil War will look like. It's going to look like Republicans versus Democrats. The attorney generals of these 18 states just joined the lawsuit, or they're backing the lawsuit, I should say. What are these states? What are these states? Let me find them real quick. It is Missouri, Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Montana, Nebraska, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Utah, and West Virginia, with Arizona being the latest state to file an amicus brief on Wednesday, bringing the total to 18 states. Arizona, a state that Biden won. Interesting. It's interesting to see how these states will break down. I guarantee you there will be more states that break in favor of the Republicans that break from Republicans in favor of the Democrats. The Republicans are going to have the majority on this. Now, the Democrats will tell you that democracy is a good thing. The pure majority should rule the land. Joe Biden won the majority rule. He should be the president. He won the majority of the vote, the popular vote. Therefore, he should be president. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Electoral College exists for a reason. Democracy is 2 wolves and a sheep deciding on what to have for dinner. The Electoral College allows the sheep to contest the vote. See, the Democrats don't really care about the minority unless they are voting for them. They want your votes. That's all they want. I, personally, the only reason I care who anyone votes for is because I don't understand how anyone can vote for a party so inconsistent as the Democrats. On one hand, they will say democracy is important. But then, on the other hand, will say, don't disenfranchise the minority. Well, direct democracy is the best way to disenfranchise the largest minority in this country, the Republican Party. So do you like minorities or do you not? Do you want their help? Or are you just using them? Do you care about them or are you using them? That is the question. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I sit here today and propose to you that the Democrats are merely using the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is merely using the minority population in the United States. Hispanics, African Americans, even Asians, and Jews. They don't care about you. In fact, they'll go so far as to say if you vote Republican, you're a traitor to your race. That's one of the most racist things anyone can say. Because it leads the belief that you're not black unless you vote Democrat. Joe Biden actually said that in an interview. If you have a problem deciding if you're going to vote for me or the other guy, then you ain't black. End quote. The Democratic Party is the party of racism. And people are starting to find out. And it's causing a lot of issues. In fact, this historian, it's causing so many issues that this historian at Boston University, the question is, are we headed for another civil war? Well, this historian answers it. This is from 2019, March 2019. So it's a little old. A recent Washington Post headline says, in America, talk turns to something not spoken of for 150 years. Civil War. What do you mean not spoken of for 150 years? The right has been talking about a civil war for the past 2 decades. But the people you hate, you just ignore them. So riddle me this. How can it have not been spoken of when it's one of the main themes I've heard about in politics growing up? Oh, you mean now it's being spoken about in your party? I think we're closer to a civil war now than we were 2 years ago, which is a very dangerous thing. And if it does turn to guns in the streets, no question as to who will win this war. The Republicans. The Republicans know how to farm better than the Democrats. They know how to use firearms more widely than the Democrats. They are better prepared all around than the Democrats. And we see this from things like the Chaz Chop Autonomous Zone out in Portland that existed for a while. They laid some cardboard on the streets and then dumped some topsoil on top of it and then tried to farm their vegetables on that. What a bunch of morons. Dare I say it, from Guardians of the Galaxy, what a bunch of a-holes. These people are idiots. And they actually think that those of us on the right are the real idiots. Meanwhile, they don't even know how to grow a potato. They don't know proper gun safety. They're out on the streets every night in Portland and Seattle rioting because a white cop killed a black criminal. Ooh. And all they look at is the skin color. If all you care about is skin color, you're the racist, not me. Ladies and gentlemen, please, as I said at the beginning of this video, this is a cry for help. This is a battle cry to unite everyone on the right, except for, KKK and all those other racists, the alt-right members. No one wants them. No one hates them more than the right themselves. The political right hates the alt-right. The key word in alt-right is not right, but alt. So, unite all the normalized right. This is a battle cry. This is a cry for help. Call for reinforcements. Share this video with your friends. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. Try not to burn down the country overnight, and even if you do, I'll be here tomorrow to cover it. Thanks for watching.